I think we're good. We're live. Yay. Hello. Welcome to Sky Notes, everyone. And welcome, Donna Young. So, Donna is the president of Kepler College, but I mean, you have certifications in from everybody. You have a degree from Kepler College. You're certified by OPA, level 3 NCGR. And that's your second career. You know, you come from advertising before that. And so you just bring so much to the table. So thank you for being with us today. And let's talk about education.
Okay, thank you for having me. I'd love to talk about education.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm just going to start with, are there, you guys have a pretty fantastic set certificate program, but the thing that I love about Kepler is that you're always bringing in new side certificates or workshops, you know, and the variety. You don't stick to just modern astrology or Hellenistic or Vedic. You're offering all of these things, plus business training and book club. And so is there anything, I mean, I know fall is usually your biggest intake, right? Would you say?
Actually, you would think that that would be the case, but actually, winter is our biggest intake.
Really?
That's when we have the most students. I think maybe fall people aren't necessarily quite ready to,
or maybe worried about if they have kids and have to worry about like, yeah, younger people.
there's a lot going
That's
on in
really
September,
interesting.
but they're all pretty, they're fairly even, but winter is usually our biggest term. But this fall might be our biggest term in history in terms of how many classes we're offering, which is like, I don't know, it's more than doubled, I think, since I started being involved in the administration of the college. We've got like 31 classes or something crazy being offered this fall. And you're absolutely right, Tracy. It's like we've stepped into all of these other areas. We've got certificates, a whole, bunch of new certificates coming in, and some of them have just started up. So we don't have all of the courses laid. We've got them laid out, but they're not all necessarily on the calendar yet. But yeah, medieval certificate is launching this fall. So that's an exciting one. And of course, many classes in Hellenistic and the astro mapping certificate is one that's been wildly popular. I don't know, do you guys find this? I've been finding in my own private practice, but that seems to be the thing that so many of the muggles are asking about.
Yeah, 100%.
I love that you said muggles. I'm going to stop the proceedings and take us back to Muggleville for a minute. So amongst our audience, there are folks who are astrologers like us, and there are folks who have no idea what astrology is. And part of what we bring is this sense of community, that astrologers typically have had a different career, that they go into it with a sense of wanting to complete academic programming, usually to get some community-based certification to validate their experience. Who are the people finding Kepler and coming to Kepler? And what kind of process, if they haven't really been in the community, would you say you see them go through?
I mean, it's everything, because I teach the very first, the fundamentals class. So I see most of the people when they're coming in, although, you can test out of those classes, those early classes. But even in the class that I teach, the fundamentals 101, we do get people that are coming in who have zero experience, who, like me, just woke up one day and said, I need to study astrology, not knowing anything about it, right? So we have those people coming in. And we also have people coming in who maybe have even been practicing for a decade or have been studying for 20 years, but who self-studied and self-taught. And so they want to make sure that they round out their education, because how do you know what you don't know?
Yeah,
it's true.
So we get the full gamut. People
I love that.
In, so that just want to round out, and people coming in that are starting at the very beginning.
So if you're a muggle, you're welcome to come, right? We've got a place, and then we'll start to kind of figure things out. It's funny that you said about astrocartography, because or astro mapping, I did a OPA mentorship with Wendy Guy, and her efficacy with astro mapping was it was compelling, right? but you don't want to say this is a rainbow that you're going to find gold at every end of, you know what I
No.
mean?
Yeah.
It's a different procedure. So I've noticed that too. I don't know if you've seen the wishful thinking around it. I'm going to go here. Everything's going to come together.
Everything, my whole life is going to be better.
Yeah.
And it's not like that, right? Because
Right.
we're moving to a certain planetary line, and we know that there's good and bad with every planet, with every energy.
Exactly.
What might be good for one thing isn't necessarily good for another.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I had a question that left my head. Oh, I wanted to go back to bring what Lillian said about newbies coming in. Do you
Yeah.
find that people sometimes come in and don't realize how much information it's going to be and
Oh,
how
yeah.
complicated
Oh,
astrology
yeah.
is?
Yeah. So the thing with Kepler that I think is different than a lot of astrology schools is that there's some rigor to it. Like you have to do a whole bunch of reading, and you have to do assignments. And if you don't do a great job in your assignments, we come back to you and say, maybe you want to redo this. You know, there's an expectation of a fair amount of work, as opposed to other classes that you can take where it's like, yeah, well, get it or not. You know, you can attend this class and nobody's ever going to test or evaluate you, which is a whole different animal, right? So when you start to get into that, where you're actually being evaluated, starting on week 1, you're being evaluated in what you learned. For a lot of people, that not just the evaluation, but the reading and the homework, because we're all adults, it can be pretty overwhelming if you have an ordinary life. And even if you have an ordinary life where you're going to work every day and doing something else and have children and aging parents and all of these things, you can't imagine to say, oh yeah, I can find an extra 8 to 10 hours a week to study astrology. That's not always realistic, and things can happen that change that path, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, Kepler is excellent though for, making concessions if they're necessary and really supporting your students. I can
Oh,
say that from
100%.
experience. Yeah. Yeah, that is really fantastic. But the courses are university level workload, I would say. I would compare them to the courses I took in university for sure.
Well, the background of Kepler College, of course, was that when they first started, it was a degree program that they had. So you could get a degree in astrology like I did, which they don't have anymore. So now it's a diploma and certificate programs. But they never really lost that academic framework. And so I think that's what you're seeing. It's like it comes from the background of academia, and that rigor still exists. So it's not for the faint of heart. I'm going to say that. I mean, it can be for the faint of heart if you don't care about getting a certificate or a diploma and just want to sit there and absorb. You're welcome to do that too. We're not going to kick you out for not doing your homework. We're just not going to give you a diploma.
But they will give you chances if you're not good at something, because math took me 3 times. So,
I mean,
and I can say I'm glad I did it. Sorry.
Yeah.
No, that's all right. I was thinking about the nonlinear nature of our transits, right? And how many times it takes us to get anything. But I was also thinking, is there a physical campus? I'm aware of Kepler through Zoom, through online.
Yeah, no, it's all online. There's not,
Okay.
there never was a physical campus. I think a lot of people imagined that because we used to get together every term for a symposium.
Right.
But that actually just happened in hotel rooms.
Well, that's a really good bridge into what you have happening from September 4th to September 6th, I think, right? So tell me about the Kepler Symposium that's coming up.
Yeah. Have you guys ever been to a symposium?
No, and actually I was wondering, what's the difference between a symposium and a conference?
Okay, if you Google the word symposium, I don't have it up on my screen or anything to Google, but it's half party, it's half discussion. I'm gonna pull it up just to look at it, to read it to you. It says a conference or meeting to discuss a particular subject. Okay, well, we know we're going to be talking about astrology. And then it says a drinking party or a convivial discussion, especially as held in ancient Greece after a banquet. And it's that way. It's a really
Lovely.
it's a place for people to get together and have conversations about the topic of astrology. And one of the things that we always did at the symposiums back in the day when we had them every term is we would have people, rather than just here's somebody standing on the stage giving a lecture and then you go on to the next lecture, you get a presentation about a particular topic, but then everybody that's in the audience now is you're going to get together and talk about this topic, and you're going to, round table what you think about it, and then come back and let the speaker then know, what do you think? What have you concluded in your particular group? So it's a much more engaging way to approach just sitting in lecture after lecture after lecture. And so we've brought that back. And I think that it's a fun model. You're not just sitting there, listening to somebody monotonously speak. You're engaged in the process. And the thing that I love about it most of all is that you're getting to talk to other astrologers in the meantime, and they mix you up, and you have to, it's kind of like an icebreaker, but not really an icebreaker, but you are forced to talk to other people in that way.
Well, and I know a conference is often exactly like you described. You're just sitting and listening and then moving on and maybe thinking about where you're going to grab lunch because you're in a new city, or when you're going to get the next cocktail and you're distracted. This forces you to actually absorb what you're learning, especially, if your learning style is more auditory and conversational. That's beautiful. That's really great.
Yeah.
It'll attract a lot of Libra placement people.
I think
love
so. I think so. I mean, I hope it's not a turnoff for some people. I hope there aren't people that are like, oh, I don't want to be sitting in the room talking, because sometimes you're sitting at a table with, people who are your heroes too, right?
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Intimidating on one hand, but on the other hand, you're getting to really engage in a conversation with somebody who knows a lot about astrology, which is fantastic. I'm super excited about it because we haven't had one in 15 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I'm hoping that at least as an annual event, certainly not for every term, but as an annual event, I'm hoping that we can bring it back. We'll see. We'll see how this one goes. But yeah, I'm really excited about it.
Because the model's a little bit different, are you, is there an online, can people join online? Is that possible?
We're still going to do it online, and the online groups will also have that opportunity to go into a breakout room and have a little discussion.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's very cool. Yeah, I love that. And for anybody who's interested, I have everything's in the links below, all the symposium websites there, your websites there. So everybody can go check it out and see what you think. I mean, I've helped Donna plan things. I've been to things Donna has planned. I know they're great. I can tell you it'll be fantastic. And the vibe will be amazing, because that is definitely what you always bring to anything that you plan.
I'm not going to hide Donna's light under a bushel either. Working with her is a joy, and she's such a good time, and part of why I love all Canadians so much.
They're not all worthy of your love, Lillian.
It doesn't matter. I know. And it's such an empty word anyway. What are we going to do?
Yeah.
I just love you two. Take it all back.
Yeah, there's lots of fun things for people that you can still sign up to go live.
That's awesome.
Do you remember when we did our Astro Trivia? We did online a couple of times. We're doing that live for the first time.
Oh,
there's going to be an
fun
there. And we've got like all kinds of party things, because it's Symposium, you're supposed to party. So
that's awesome.
There's lots of fun.
I've been kicking around this idea of doing astrology password. Do you remember that show? And then they'd say,
how did they play that?
Well, they toss out a sentence with a missing word. So, but it could be something fun, like, ever since the opposition between Saturn and Mars, Ted noticed that his blank has become blank. And then you fill in the words. And
so that's fun.
Right. And so if you guys want to do that, I'd love to see that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That would be fun.
That sounds a bit
Yeah.
like a drinking game to me and could get people into a lot of trouble.
Maybe we could keep it rigorous. But back to the Kepler stuff, my experience with astrology was I met an amazing person who did astrology, and they happened to be doing classes, and they had sort of a provenance, but there weren't the certifications, right?
Yeah.
And so as the decades have gone on, and I see the results of what Kepler does, my feedback is, wow, what a diverse set of techniques. What a way to both deepen and broaden your experience. What a way to bring everyone together from really disparate places. It just seems like a step above, and it makes me ask, do you guys work with the university in Bath or any of the other international cohorts of college level or above astrology study?
Yeah, well, it is that the Nick Campion's school that he works with, the University of Wales.
Yes.
Used to be in Bath. It's University of Wales now.
Yeah.
That one is one that certainly we know that if you have a diploma at Kepler College and you want to work towards an MA in cultural astronomy and astrology, he will accept your Kepler College education, even if you, because of course, if you can't get an MA without a BA, but even if you don't have a BA, he appreciates the rigor that Kepler College has. And yeah, you'd still have to do an entrance application, of course, but typically he recognizes that the Kepler College diploma is sufficient for you to head directly into your MA. Do not pass go.
That's marvelous. That's marvelous.
Yeah, so I think that's fantastic. I don't know about others. I mean, there might be others. I don't know, but I certainly know that you can do that at the University of Wales, which is fantastic. And it's online as well. You don't have to physically go there. So yeah.
Right. That helps for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
So is there anything particularly that's coming up this term that you're excited about, with any new classes or certificates or teachers?
Yeah, the medieval certificate is one that's really brand new for us this term. So there are a couple of classes. The medieval, I mean, it seems like because we've launched already the Hellenistic and the medieval, you think, well, what's the difference? But you know what? There are differences.
Yeah.
And together, they're both traditional astrologies, but they're the coordinators of those particular certificates are working together to make sure that there are not overlaps so that they are complementing each other. And ultimately, we're hoping down the road that the two of those will combine to create its own traditional diploma. I don't know if I'm speaking out of turn here, but yeah, that's kind of our plan. And so we've got a couple of those classes starting up. I'm just going through the list because we've got
I want to hear.
I can't remember exactly what they're called, and I don't want to misspeak.
That's fair.
We have got we've got in our Hellenistic certificate, we've got an Antisha in astrology coming with Kate Petty. That's
yeah, I saw that. That looks really interesting.
And Shu Yap is doing the Medieval Essentials 1. So if you're interested in medieval astrology, that's going to be the starting point. I think these traditional astrologies, medieval and Hellenistic, because of course, these are the foundations of our practice that we have in Western astrology today. Even if that's not the road you want to go down, like so interesting to take some of those foundational classes just to strengthen your knowledge of astrology overall. And then the medieval one is followed immediately by medievals 2, and that's with Asan Kazini. You guys probably are familiar with him, also another really amazing and well-versed astrologer. So those two are the brand new classes in medieval astrology, but we also have some other great Hellenistic astrology ones coming. let me just see. Oh, Introduction to Hellenistic is starting again. So both of those are kind of running side by side. Hard to choose, but we've got Kenan Yazin from Istanbul teaching a class,
Lovely.
an astromapping class on transits and progressions. That's a new class. Hellenistic Considerations of the Moon with Chris Burke and Larry Arrington. That's a new class. I'm just scrolling through here. I'm sure there's one more that I'm missing. Oh, this one isn't a new certificate, but for the first time, Sue Tompkins, you know, Sue Tompkins, who wrote Aspects in Astrology, is teaching a class called Everything You Wanted to Know About Aspects in Astrology.
Fantastic.
Wow, that would be fantastic. I love her book. I love that aspects book is great. And I have her basics book too, and it's very, very, very solid. It's it's really good.
Yeah, I think
sure.
most of us have her aspects book on our bookshelf, right? Like that's almost like required reading for
Yeah, and she's such an easy, you know, solid, very no fluff writer that I like reading her books a lot. They're always great resources for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's exciting.
So here's one I missed. Manilius, Decoding the Astronomica with Julie Verdini.
Wow.
Is also a new class.
I love that.
We're offering for the first time. Yeah, some really amazing minds coming together in some of these certificates. And some of them might not be names that you've heard of, but really I've met I think all of the instructors in the Hellenistic certificate, because I was studying that pretty in depth for a while. And oh my gosh, they are so brilliant, so brilliant.
So that leads me to another question, which is you offer the learning that astrologers yearn for, you certify them ready to take clients or do further research. How can folks who are in our audience find the Kepler students who are now taking clients or Kepler instructors? Do you guys have like recommendations, or do you work with other volunteer organizations that put out lists of astrologers?
We are working on something. We don't have it on our website yet, but
You've got a full plate already.
Yeah, we're working on something where our graduates can actually, where you can get readings through the college from our graduates eventually. Yeah, or at least go through Kepler College to get to them. So that is a part of the model that we want to adopt it, and to support our clients, but also because we get so many people asking us, I get a reading. It's like, well, we can't.
Of course.
So we're excited. We're not anywhere near ready to launch that program yet because we've had a little bit on our plate, but that's
it's powerful marketing, right? If somebody is thinking about attending Kepler and they go to a student, their mind is blown. They're like, I need to be a Kepler student too. So yeah, that's a pretty fantastic marketing tool for sure. Yeah. And, back to you talking about the people that are teaching the classes and everything you're offering. One of the things I found so valuable about Kepler is that you're not learning from the same people over and over again. So the variety of ideas and life experiences that the teachers are bringing is so varied that you come out of Kepler, even if you do the fundamentals certificate, you're coming out with a really fantastic, well-rounded bit of information or chunk of information. And I find that it fosters the astrologers to kind of come to their own ideas then, instead of becoming a disciple of one teacher. And I really appreciate that about the school for sure. Have you gotten that kind of feedback before?
I do think that that's one of our biggest strengths for sure. Because there are lots of great astrologers out there for sure that are offering classes and teaching. But yes, you can end up, even if it's unintentionally. I had an astrologer that I was learning from for a long time back in the day. And I recognized at a certain point that I was even picking his patterns of speech after a while. Like I'd adopted so much of the way that he taught. And I mean, English was not his first language. So I ended up saying some really weird things. And it wasn't intentional. It's just when you listen to the same person over and over and over, you know, if you're a little bit sponge-like, you start to adopt some of their speech patterns and their thought patterns even. And I think that as much as I felt like I had a great education from them, and again, there's so many great astrology teachers out there that have their programs, but that will never happen at Kepler College because we've got over 60 faculty members that teach the program, and that
From all over the world, like not just, yeah, which is just phenomenal.
And we quite intentionally, at least in our diploma program, we quite intentionally with each certificate is like, you're not gonna, if I'm teaching you in 101 class, you're not gonna see me again in that certificate. And that's very intentional. It's because we want you to hear different voices. And we want you, you know, we talk about the idea of critical thinking skills, right? It's like, well, by the time you've graduated, if you come to me and say, you know, I don't agree with this thing that you said, I'm like, hurrah, my job here is done, right? If you if you by the end of it have your own ideas about what things should look like, I mean, to reinvent astrology, no, but to
new zodiac.
And I that when they come out with every year?
Ophiuchus, the one that's
Ophiuchus or whatever. Yeah.
But that you can, you know, form your own thoughts and make your own ideas about how things are interpretively. That's the goal, right? We want people to have different voices and different ways of expressing themselves. That's the goal. We want you to be an informed and educated and thoughtful astrologer.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't matter how hard you try, your astrology is always going to be influenced by your own experiences, right? So that's why, to me, to have all these different teachers with different life experiences and backgrounds just gives you so much richer information. And I could say Donna's not just saying that she says that when her students come to her and have their own ideas. She does actually say it 100% because she said it to me. So she's an excellent cheerleader for her students, I have to say.
I love that.
Thanks, Tracy.
Yeah, absolutely. And so now I want to talk about on my list of things beyond the certificates and the courses. What else are you guys doing? You guys have so much other things going on for professional development or other enriching things. So what have you got?
Yeah, well, the professional development, there is a certificate in professional development, but really I think that most people, probably it's not important to them that they get that certificate as much as they have the skills, right? So that was in recognition that a lot of people would finish their astrology, even when we had the degree program, they'd finish their degree or they'd finish their diploma and they'd be like, okay, now I'm an astrologer. But now what?
Now what?
You guys know that's not like you can just say, now I have my degree. If I build it, they will come. It's not like that. How do you get people to come to you? How do you develop your own business? Like astrologers are all entrepreneurs. It's not like there's getting to be more and more, I think, as the popularity of astrology grows, you might find more people that are like, oh, I need somebody to write sun sign columns or things like that, more so than when I graduated, for sure. But for the most part, it's not like you can just go onto LinkedIn and say, okay, who's looking for an astrologer? That you kind of have to create your own job.
Yes.
And how do you do that? So where's your niche going to be? Are you going to be a writer? Are you going to be a speaker? Are you going to be speaking at conferences? Are you going to be a teacher? Are you going to be a consulting astrologer? And if you are, what area are you going to specialize in? Because, lots of us are generalists. I think I'm a generalist, but you might want to focus on astrocartography or Hellenistic astrology, or there's all these
horary,
horary, or election. So there's all different things that you need to think about in terms of what path I want to go on, and then how are you going to market yourself, and how are you going to get to that next level? Because having the piece of paper isn't enough. if that's what you want your career to be.
I really appreciate that. I have two questions that come from that. One is, so I'm in the States, the United States, and here it's sort of like we've thrown all the laws up into the air. And in addition to like wherever you look, there are laws up in the air, there are questions, right? There are laws in the United States, state to state, where they can call astrology fortune telling and call it a fraud and make it illegal. So is that part of the professional development?
These are certainly discussions that are had in some
Right.
of the classes.
That's what I
But
mean.
to say
Yeah.
that we have a class specifically that
No,
talks
I don't.
about that, not so much, although that would be an interesting one. But it's so different in every area that,
Yeah.
I think the best advice is you have to do your own research in that regard, right? Because it's going to vary from state to state, province to province, country to country.
Country to country, yeah.
Mhm.
And then there was a second question in there, but it's gone. I'm sure it'll come back.
I'm sure it will.
Yeah, I was very lucky in one of my, I think it was in 102. It was Karen was teaching that class, and we had a lawyer in the class. So we got to kind of pick a final project. And what she did is she found out where each student in the class was from, and she went and did a deep dive on what the laws were in the place that we lived. And then told us, what the laws were. And it was shocking and horrifying. And everything that Lillian is saying is true in most places, you know. And so that I think that that's something that we all kind of need to be cognizant of at this point. Alberta is not that much better than the States in these ways,
Right,
and being careful
Well,
about how you market
yeah.
yourself, I think, is important.
Well, I feel like I hear this a lot on our podcast, is we also need our clients to make their own decisions. And we are not putting ourselves in a position where we are trying to answer questions for our clients that are not our provenance. So there's that. I did get to the other question, which is less sticky and more gooey. It's when you think about astrology, when I think about it, I think about all the culture and the myth and the poetry locked away in the language of it. And so I kind of wanted to hear about that. And then using one of those oldie-fashioned words, I would say, is there a guild or a group that the alumnus from Kepler can join to kind of continue that reinforcing of information? I'm sure it's happening in an informal way. So poetry, culture, and then there's a third one I'll come back to.
Not directly, indirectly, because we have a book club.
Oh, fun. Yes.
Yeah, so Kepler College does have a book club. And as much as because it's a live, it's a book club, that they at the end will bring the author in for a Q&A. And we can't do that always with, of course, we're not going to be able to bring Ptolemy in for an interview.
Right.
But at the same time,
William Lilly is still refusing all interviews.
We do occasionally look at some of those older books and have discussion around them, and bring in an expert on the subject or something like that, right? So indirectly, not directly through our programming, but through our book club, there is that kind of offering. But within the college, there is a class. Carol Tubbs teaches classes in literature, East and West, and so there's exploration there. And of course, we've got history classes. You have to take history in order to get your diploma, and mythology classes. So there's classes in those topics that you can certainly take as an area of speciality, because it's part of the history. All of those classes are part of the history class.
Oh, that's cool.
The history certificate. So you could take that certificate and get that rounding out, which, I'm with you. I think that stuff is really important, and often neglected in our history. We can easily stand on the shoulders of those that came before us in terms of the basic astrology knowledge, but so much of that is rooted in philosophy and
right.
Right.
Yeah,
And then
absolutely.
it did. I found my third thing, and then I'm adding a little one, but it doesn't have to be answered yet. The third thing is the guild, or like an organization of association with alumnus. What is the alumnus experience at Kepler?
Well, we don't have that established yet.
Alumni.
That's part of what I was saying, how we're developing our alumni program.
Got
But we
it.
certainly do try to bring our alumni back into the fold in various ways. Like as Kepler College grows, and it's grown fast. I mean,
Yeah.
astrology in the last few years has grown astronomically, right?
Yeah.
And so has Kepler College. We've kept up with that. And so we need a lot of hands on deck. And it's not always in big ways, but we try to go back to our alumni and say, okay, can you help? Can you be a TA for this class? We need people even just to come in as what we call Zoom techs. So these are the people that make sure that the recordings are going, and they don't have to have necessarily expertise in the subject matter, but we try to bring our graduates back in, and if they come in as TAs and do well, then they can become co-teachers, and we promote them up through the college. So it's not a formal group, but we certainly try to bring our graduates back in to work with the college.
Yeah. And then the next question is, how can we answer it now? We'll have to get back together in 20 years. How is AI impacting Kepler?
Oh, and that's
right?
That's a big question.
Whew.
We started to see it creep into the assignment, which as an instructor, let me tell you, is super, super annoying, because I don't need to waste my time marking the work of AI.
Yeah. AI's already got a job.
AI already has a job. So if you're just plopping the thing in and having AI write your assignment, we're going to bust you, because we run it through, the plagiarism
Detectors,
and
yeah.
And because I'm not interested in what AI has to say. I mean, I'm interested, but not in terms of your assignment.
Yeah.
And so that has become a problem. But at the same time, we recognize that AI is here to stay. We're not going to pretend that isn't a big part of what's going on in our world right now. So there are assignments where we ask you to use AI for this assignment.
Cool.
In a creative way. So, on one hand, it's encouraged and discouraged. There's a time and a place for AI. I don't know how much you guys use it in your work. And
it's a really good shortcut for marketing, right?
Really good shortcut for all kinds of things, but it's not a good shortcut for learning astrology.
No, it's not. You can't. If you don't know the astrology, you can't use AI. It will absolutely do the weirdest things when where it's grabbing its information from. So if you can't catch the mistakes, I read a really great article. A woman figured with ChatGPT, her career was made and she could copyright anything. She was already a copywriter. And she took a technical job in an industry she knew nothing about, and then wrote it. It was beautiful. She thought, oh my God, best piece ever. And thought, I should get somebody who knows something about this to look at it before I give it to the person who gave me the job. And they went, this is like gobbledygook. It makes zero sense in terms of this area. Yeah. And I think it would be very true for astrology as well.
But that makes it really helpful to not have people be, dogmatic, right? Yes or no, because you have to go through this experience just like we're all going through it. And then another wonder I have, like, let's say the copyright issues didn't exist, right? You could have a Rob Hand AI feed. You could have a Demetra George AI feed, or a Donna Young, or Tracy Quinlan. And so it could actually, sorry, I've got a mosquito in here. It could be something that is incredibly effective later. And that's part of the bigger question. So I love that your answer was, in some cases, we'll point you to AI. In some cases, we'll point you away from AI.
In most cases, we'll point you away from it. Because I think the ultimate goal is if your goal is to become an astrologer, and you want to sit with clients, how does using AI to learn astrology serve you?
Yeah. No, you want it to embody your astrology and start feeding it out or something. It's not quite there yet.
Yeah, because you can't. And I mean, I think when we're beginning astrologers, when we first start our practice, I know I did this. I would do a huge, massive, it would take me hours to do this whole analysis of the chart, and I'd type it all out. And it's almost like you imagine this is how the conversation is going to go. And then guess what? That's not how the conversation goes. So you end up having to chuck all your notes out completely. And so it's still a good practice because you've got all of that information that you gathered, all that information gathering is important, but you can't control how that conversation is going to go. And so if all of your work is going to be AI generated, and then you get into the room with your client and that's not how it goes, then what? What are you going to do, right?
Yeah,
if your client isn't following the script.
Yeah, and
the client, damn it. No,
AI is not hiring astrologers either, I think. No, they don't need astrologers.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So, think about what the goal is. If the goal is to learn astrology, use it to polish your final assignment. Sure.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but even then, that's not, I use it to edit, or not edit, to like do my final like polish.
Yeah.
And it threw in some line about Mercury retrograde being like, it was at a time when we didn't have Mercury retrograde. I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? Like, I wanted spelling. That's it.
Yeah, I wanted to know if I missed a comma and misspelled a word, not
100%. Yeah. Yeah, so it is not foolproof, that's for sure.
No, I just saw the South Park from last night, and they're doing all kinds of crazy stuff. And this last one was about AI. And basically, one of the characters was like, that program is just kissing your butt. And basically, anybody could say, I have a business idea. And then the chat GPT would go, that's great. You're smart. Let's get this done. And it could be the most cockamamie idea. And then you're like moving forward with your great plan. So
there's a time and a place. And I mean, I know that it's going to grow and it'll be more, there's no getting back from it. And I think that anyone who pretends that it's like the people who thought that the internet was a fad, I think that we're not going to ever go backwards. So we have to figure out how to make it work for us in the best possible way. But as a student, think about what your end goal is. Your end goal is not to pass with distinction on this class. Your end goal is to be an astrologer. So learn the thing.
Yeah. Well, for me, when you say we're not going to go back to the past, I went back to my college books and got the Bedford Research Guide out, because there's this cognitive dissonance I have with so much information being available, but it's not all quality information.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh, well, that used to always be the case. If you couldn't get to the, in the States, to the Library of Congress or kind of research on a deeper level, you had to learn how to research. And I think that's the key, is to figure out where you're actually getting the information from and verifying it.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah. And it felt like a backwards move that was kind of solidifying, like, oh yeah, we've been here before.
And in a way, that's what we're doing with our astrology education, isn't it? The whole Project Hindsight movement, that's where all of the rebirth of all of this Hellenistic astrology and the interest in traditional astrology came from. It's like, let's go back to where we were thousands of years ago and see what they actually said.
Yes.
And from there, we realized that we've missed a whole ton. So no, we're not going to throw out anything that came before us. There's value in everything that has preceded us, but we still have to keep up with change, right?
Yeah.
Well, and we're in such an interesting time now with the assembling of, patriarchy, colonialism, all of these things, and gender and stuff. And so peeling back the layers of some of the biases that might be in the older astrology and reframing it into a way that's more inclusive and less divisive. And, I think there's so much power in that. I think we're in actually a really exciting time, even though it's maybe stressful. I feel like, you know, we really are taking astrology to a whole new level, and making it even more amazing than it already was with all the different ways to use it and learn.
Yeah, I agree. I call myself a fusion astrologer
Nice.
because I've learned so many different ways. And I think when I'm sitting with a client, why do I have to just choose one path? Why can't I?
Love that.
I always look at multiple house systems before I sit with somebody to see what's moved and changed and, how that might be playing out in their life. But I'm also picking things from evolutionary astrology and Hellenistic astrology and mashing them together, because if I know these things, why wouldn't I use them?
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
absolutely. And they all have value, right?
I'll have value. Yeah.
There's something else I wanted to bring up, and I don't want to forget it. And this is something that most people don't know about Kepler, is that you guys are not for profit, right?
That's right.
Yes, and
What?
I think that, yeah, and that's not common knowledge, and it's
Wow.
something that's actually really attractive to people.
Yes.
Is that, this is a not-for-profit
It
organization,
announces
and
an
yeah,
intent.
and I think that that's really important. And so, how do you guys manage that? Like, where does the money come from?
Yeah, who's
And
bankrolling you guys?
Well, I mean, students, we keep running through the volume of students that we have, and I mean, our class sizes are still small, I think, relative to many of the other places where you can get classes out there that might have hundreds of people in a class, because we're live instructors with live student engagement, and we top our classes off at 30. Sometimes stuff happens and we go over 30, but 30 is kind of like our maximum number that we'll have in a classroom. So you can imagine it's not hugely lucrative in the same way that if you've got 300 people in your class. But yeah, we get our money from student enrollment and donations. So every time we do a webinar, we ask for donations. And I have to tell you that sadly, the number of people that donate to us via that route is like, it's just tanked. And I know the economy is tough and there's all these things. And I think lots of people are asking for money, but I think you're right. I think people don't realize that we are a not-for-profit organization, and this is how we keep going. And this is how we continue to offer. And, we offer tons of free stuff. We've got,
oh my gosh, yeah.
Yeah, a couple of free webinars and our YouTube channel. Like, we're paying a lot of people to keep all of those things, all those wheels going.
We should get that donation link, Tracy, for our
oh yeah, that would be, yeah, send that to me and I'll make sure it goes up underneath for sure. Absolutely. Yeah.
So yeah, donations are a big part of how we keep ourselves going, and our fundraising efforts, although our fundraising efforts are often geared towards giving scholarships to students, so depending on where we're at. But yeah, thank you for bringing that up, because I think that's a really important thing to think about. I mean, it doesn't matter in your life where you got your education and as a practicing astrologer, but if I think about all of the little schools out there that are run by individuals, and again, some of them are amazing, what happens when those people are no longer with us?
Right.
Whereas it's my hope, at least, that Kepler just continues. The fact that we've got so many people involved means that when I die, no big deal.
Stop your,
Well, that's
your
not
mouth
true.
right
You know
there.
what I'm
I
saying?
can't believe it.
In terms of the college,
find and rebuke that.
you know what I'm saying.
I
It
do.
doesn't rest with one
College.
person. There's no one person that's keeping that
It's
mission going.
It's a big deal. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I definitely, comparing to a for-profit, I worked for Microsoft for 14 years, and their alumnus program is robust and it has events and all sorts of stuff. And it keeps me connected to people who I otherwise wouldn't have access to. So I get exactly what you're saying. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, I didn't realize how important that was to people, actually. And somebody was asking about where to take classes, and I'd recommended Kepler, and they were like, oh, it's kind of like with the exchange with the Canadian dollar, it's that was sort of their concern. And I said something about, I don't remember what their comment was, but I said, well, but they're not for profit. Well, that changed their attitude like instantly. Right. And I thought, oh, well, that's an important thing for people to know, because it really does resonate for people that you guys aren't, out trying to build a Fortune 500 company out of an astrology education.
Not at all. Not at all. In fact, I would say most of the people that work for us, including our faculty, I mean, it's really a labor of love. Nobody's working at Kepler College, whether that's in the administration or as a faculty member, because boy, are they bringing in the bucks. Like, you work at Kepler College, and not to turn anybody off from working with us, but if you work at Kepler College because it's for the future of astrology and to develop good astrology students, right? And that's the attitude of all of our faculty and all of the people that work for the college. They want to be involved in creating, future generations of astrologers. And so they sacrifice a part of that. They sacrifice themselves in some way because they're volunteering. Basically, if you're not making a whole bunch of money doing it, you're volunteering a lot of your time, even if you're getting paid somewhat. And so if we talk about all these 60 faculty members, it's like, all these 60 plus people have that attitude. And so do the people that work at the college. So,
and that love of the information definitely comes through in the classes. I can definitely say that. So it's probably too late for scholarships now for this upcoming session. But I'd like you to talk a little bit about the scholarships and for the future, for if anybody feels like that's something they need.
So our scholarships, interesting that you say, Tracy, that you talk to people in Canada for whom it's expensive. The exchange rate is brutal right now, right? And that's the same in lots of other countries. And that can be a reason to apply for a scholarship if it's a financial burden for you. It doesn't have to mean that you're a single mother of 18 children. It doesn't have to mean that you're just barely getting by. Anybody who has any kind of financial difficulty can apply for a scholarship. Now, bearing in mind that it's not like, again, our scholarship coffers aren't huge because we rely on donations. So if you have the money to support some of these students, please donate.
Beautiful.
And if you don't have, and you have a passion for astrology, please apply for a scholarship, because it really is open to anybody. Now, certainly we do give preference to people who have taken a course and proven their commitment.
Devotion.
Because
commitment, that's the word I wanted. Commitment. There you go. Sorry, not devotion.
The work. They demonstrated they're going to do the work.
To Donna Young devotees will get this scholarship. No, their commitment to astrology. That doesn't mean that we don't take any people who are coming in for the first time, but even then you have to have proven your commitment to astrology. So you have to have shown, what are the books on your shelf? Like, what have you been studying? How have you been self-studying thus far? Like, you have to show a real desire to learn. But then once you have passed your first course, then, you're more likely to get scholarships. If I'm honest, we want to support our existing students. But
that
really
makes sense.
Anybody can.
But I'd like to hear a little more about the lighter touches, the webinars or the newsletters, or the ways that folks can kind of touch in for an hour or 2 hours, recordings or any other.
Well, the best way is to go to our YouTube channel.
Beautiful.
The Kepler College YouTube channel is quite robust. It's not just, it certainly holds all of our webinars, or at least not every single one of them from eternity, but in our most recent past, and some of the older ones as well that we've pulled out of the archives. So all of our webinars are done live, but then also shared over onto our YouTube channel. But we also have all kinds of other interviews and things going on over there. So there are interviews with leaders in astrology and upcoming astrologers, and the Toastmasters group actually has
Yeah.
their own little section.
I'm going to shout out the Toastmasters group because I started doing it when we started the podcast. And it is, I would assume it's unlike any other Toastmasters if you've been through it before. It's just as supportive, it's just as on point, but it's all astrology. And so you'll be asked stuff like, we just had Mars move into Libra. What do you think expresses, or introduce yourself with your Mars placement? And it's just really lively. And that is almost what I was thinking of with a guild almost, because it's such a robust way to engage with other astrologers.
Yeah. And it's open to anybody. You don't have to be a student of Kepler College.
Yeah.
So anybody anywhere in the world can join that Toastmasters group. And to be clear, it's a Toastmasters group that Kepler College sponsors.
Right.
So it's not, we're not running it. The
Right.
Toastmasters group is self-run. We just support it by putting some of the speeches onto our YouTube channel and having the money run through our bank, that kind of thing, right?
Yeah,
Providing
it's
the
really
Zoom,
cool.
that type of thing. But no, I think that's one of the things that it's a great Toastmasters group. I'm pretty sure it's the only Toastmasters group in the world that focuses on astrology. In fact, it was one of the clubs, the first international online niche club in the Toastmasters world.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah,
It
no,
really
we didn't
is.
know that. We didn't know that going in. We didn't realize that we were, we just had this idea.
Trailblazers.
Yeah,
Trailblazers.
breaking new ground.
We didn't know that we had all of Toastmasters going, oh, how do we do this? But you don't know when you don't know.
Great.
So it's been great. There have been people that through joining Toastmasters have now stepped into the world of, speaking at conferences and doing speaking engagements. And conversely, we've had some people who already were in that world come back. Like people have said, you know what, you've got so much to say, but your speaking could really use some honing.
Isn't that good?
You over to Toastmasters. So it's gone in both directions. And I think
Yes.
so good for the astrology world. I don't know. I know you guys have been going to conferences for a long time, and I know you're with me when I say that there are some really brilliant astrologers out there who can put you to sleep.
Or confuse you.
Or
right? Because they can't deliver the information in a clear way. And you just kind of come out going, I don't know what that was about. I think it was probably supposed to be fantastic, but I'm confused.
Yeah, Toastmasters can address word salad better than anything else I've seen.
Yeah, for sure.
That's excellent.
So I think it's for everybody. For everybody. It's for people who are just coming in. And even if you don't have a desire to speak at a conference, what astrologer, unless you're writing or researching or doing financial astrology, but if you're a consulting astrologer, what are you doing? You're talking to people.
Yeah.
So even if it's not your goal to be on the stage, you need to learn how to communicate and to express yourself and to be engaging with your clients. So in that regard,
such positive feedback, right? Like even like where you're most vulnerable, maybe, learning how to speak with a good bedside manner is difficult. Learning how to speak on a podcast. I mean, we spent our first year cutting out, a fair amount of our ums and ahs, and that's just part of it.
And that's just a part of it.
Yeah,
for sure. There's so much good stuff. So that's for everybody. So
the YouTube channel, Toastmasters, fantastic.
And I'll put links up for the YouTube channel and the donation link. So we're at the top of the hour. Is there anything else that you'd like to share that we didn't cover that you want people to know, Donna?
One thing that I do want to share is that, and this is not related to Kepler College specifically, but members of the college are involved in this group that is called an International Coalition for Astrological Education. And that's just a forming, it's been in the works for a little while, but the goal is to make an organization where all astrologers and all schools can be connected, so that if you've studied somewhere else in the world and you want to come to Kepler College or vice versa, we have these parallels that we can look at to say, yeah, this program is equal to this program, or you've matched everything here, but you might need to pad up these different in this area or that area, so that people can be sure that they're getting a solid education. Now, every school is going to have their own requirements for whatever their diploma looks like, but you as a student could look at these lists of schools and who's out there teaching things and say, okay, I've learned this, but if I want to learn this other thing, I can go over here. It's a pretty big endeavor, and it's just in its infancy. Wow. But we're excited to be a part of that and to watch the development of that. So look for more on that. That's not specific to Kepler College, but I think in terms of the overall astrology community, really important for where we're going. We have to be united, right?
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you, you've done an incredible job at growing the college and like reaching its beautiful tentacles out and creating a much larger community than even when I first was introduced. I mean, I have to give Donna a lot of credit. She got me on the path to becoming a professional astrologer, and got me, excited about Kepler. And I'm always going to be grateful for that. And it was such a great experience. And I'm going to finish that damn diploma if it kills me.
Well,
I was actually just thinking that I want to do the movement certificate again as an audit, because there's just so much information that you can't absorb every last bit of it. And it's fantastic. So thank you for everything that you give the community, Donna.
Well, thank you,
that.
Tracy. Oh, thanks, guys.
Absolutely.
The love is mutual, right back out to both of you. Yeah.
Thank you. All right. Well, thanks, Donna Young, for being here. Everybody check out what Kepler College has to offer and the symposium that's coming up very soon, September 4th to 6th. Everything's in the link below. And next week, we're going to talk to Alex Trenowith about her new book, Zeus on the Loose. So check in next week at 10. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks for joining us.
Out, but now there's going to be this awkward moment.
I know, just this awkward moment.
There we go.
All right.
Thanks, hon. How was that for you?
Oh, no, it was great. Thanks, guys. Nice to have